You think you know the people closest to you, your best friend, maybe your family, definitely your inner circle. We kind of tell ourselves we get them, their motives, why they do things, even what they might be thinking. But what happens when the ones you trust, like really trust, are keeping secrets? Huge secrets, secrets so big they could totally change your life path. And what if those secrets aren't kept out of malice, but maybe out of love? A really deep, hidden kind of love. We're diving into a story today that puts exactly that question right to the test. It's a story that honestly nearly destroyed a friendship, but in the end, maybe saved it. So here on The Deep Dive, that's what we do. Our mission is to unpack these kinds of really compelling human stories. We don't just, skim the surface. We dig in. We try to pull out the most important bits, the knowledge, the insights. Basically, we want to give you a shortcut to being genuinely well-informed. And hopefully, help you see your own experiences, maybe your relationships, through a slightly different lens, armed with some surprising facts, maybe a little humor along the way. It's really about getting to the heart of what makes us tick, understanding those little nuances we often miss, and connecting it all back to our lives. Our source material for this deep dive is a really personal account. It's titled, "The Best Friend's Secret Sacrifice." And it's just a powerful narrative about friendship, right? That intricate, sometimes baffling dance we do. It's about the truths people keep hidden and the big lessons we learn when everything we thought we knew gets, shattered. It's a journey, really.
Yeah.
Through suspicion, doubt, and then finally this revelation that doesn't just redefine loyalty, it kind of elevates it.
Yeah, and what's truly compelling here, I think, is how the story works almost like a case study. You see so clearly how trust can just evaporate based on incomplete information. It's startlingly fast, and it shows how incredibly challenging it is psychologically to figure out someone's true intentions when you're caught up in that storm of doubt. So this deep dive, it isn't just about recounting events, it's really about guiding you through that emotional landscape, the suspicion, the revelation. We're going to explore the multifaceted nature of secrets, right? And the impact they have often unforeseen on our most important relationships. Crucially, we want to move beyond just the what happened and really dig into the why. Why did people act that way? We'll look at maybe some cognitive biases, communication dynamics, all that complex human stuff that drives these situations. Because this narrative, it really forces us, doesn't it, to look way beyond the surface, to question our gut reactions, our first interpretations, and understand that massive difference between what looks like betrayal and what someone actually intends.
Okay, so get ready. Get ready to maybe question what you think you know about honesty, about loyalty. Because this story, it really is a masterclass in how easily we can misjudge even the people we love the most. Seriously, it's a potent reminder that sometimes the most loving things people do for us, they're disguised in ways we'd least expect. And they often require this huge amount of emotional labor, silent sacrifice from the people who care. So let's really unpack this incredible tale of friendship, secrets, and a sacrifice that changed everything. Our journey kicks off, like so many impactful stories do, with something solid, something that feels, unbreakable, an extraordinary friendship. The narrator of The Best Friend's Secret Sacrifice, she introduces us to Sarah, her best friend, way back in high school. Met when they were 15, that age, when friendships feel like fate. And apparently this one did, right away, an instant connection, destined even. The narrator describes Sarah with this real admiration, like she lit up a room just by walking in. You get this picture of someone really magnetic, vibrant. And their friendship wasn't just casual, it was deep. They were inseparable, two halves of a whole, that kind of thing. Sharing everything, late-night sleepovers, giggle fits, whispered dreams, those caffeine-fueled study sessions. They had those silly inside jokes, that shorthand, that way of understanding each other without even speaking sometimes. This wasn't just friendship, it was formative. It helped shape who they were becoming during those really critical teenage years. A safe harbor, really.
And what's really striking, I think, right from the start, is how carefully the author builds up the depth of this bond. The narrator remembers this pact they made. A really heartfelt promise. Always best friends. More like sisters, even. Now, that's not just a throwaway line, is it? It speaks volumes about the expectations they had. Unwavering loyalty, total transparency, shared lives, basically. When you think about the emotional weight of that promise, especially saying, nothing could ever break us apart, wow, that sets an incredibly high bar for trust. This deep-seated belief, this sort of cognitive schema of an unbreakable bond, it's absolutely crucial because it's the foundation. And when things start to go wrong later, the perceived betrayals feel so much worse because of this foundation. It shows just how much emotional capital, how much of our sense of self, really, we invest in these core relationships. So any threat feels massive, almost existential for the narrator.
That's exactly right. They really were each other's first call. For everything. Good news, bad news, just needing to vent. always there, a constant support system. This wasn't some friendship of convenience, that shifts with the wind. It was deep, ingrained. Their lives were totally tangled together. And the narrator genuinely believed, like with pure innocence, that nothing, absolutely nothing, could ever come between them. They had built this fortress of trust, this shared history. It all pointed to a future of just unwavering support, no matter what. It's the kind of bond so many of us want, right? That comforting feeling of someone who just gets you, sees you, will always be there. And that absolute certainty, that total security in the friendship, well, that's precisely what makes the next part so disorienting, so destabilizing for her.
Indeed. That profound certainty you describe, it's exactly why the shift in Sarah's behavior hits so hard. It feels jarring, deeply unsettling. If we connect this to sort of broader psychology, it really highlights how our expectations in a relationship are shaped by the past, by those established patterns. So when that consistent pattern, trust, openness, closeness gets disrupted, even a little bit, it doesn't just cause a flicker of doubt, it can violently shake the whole foundation of how we see that person and the relationship itself. For the narrator, her initial faith in the bond, that's exactly what magnifies the pain and confusion later on. Because Sarah's new behavior directly contradicts everything she thought she knew, everything she believed about her best friend. It triggers that thing called cognitive dissonance, that uncomfortable mental stress when you hold conflicting beliefs. It makes the search for an explanation, even a negative one, almost compulsive. You have to make sense of it.
Okay, so with that incredibly strong foundation set, the story takes a turn, like life often does, right? The first subtle cracks start to appear in this seemingly perfect friendship. The narrator mentions how little things started to change. Simple phrase, but it carries so much weight. It wasn't some big dramatic blow-up, no. It was slower, more insidious, gradual, which almost makes it harder to pinpoint, like a slow leak. Sarah, the radiant, always their best friend, starts becoming distant. And it wasn't just a feeling, it was tangible stuff. Plans canceled more often, last minute, a new kind of reluctance maybe to do their usual things, those weekly coffee dates, the impromptu movie nights that used to be sacred. And then there was her phone, always lighting up, messages from numbers the narrator didn't recognize, sometimes at weird hours. And when asked, Sarah would just brush it off. Vague answers, oh, just school stuff, a new project. Always with this nervous kind of forced laugh that, well, it didn't reassure anyone.
It's really fascinating, isn't it? Psychologically, I mean. The disproportionate power these little things have. Especially in close relationships, high trust ones, they can sow so much doubt. Because in really intimate friendships, we become incredibly attuned to the small stuff, the micro expressions, the shifts in routine we just notice. So a sudden change, going from constant contact to frequent cancellations, or a friend who was always open suddenly becoming evasive, that immediately registers as a major deviation from the norm, from the established pattern. And it powerfully illustrates the negativity bias in action. When we lack full information, especially when emotions are involved, our brains often jump to suspect negative intent. It's almost a default, especially with someone close where transparency is kind of expected. This bias means a few little things can quickly outweigh a long history of good stuff. The narrator's mind just latches onto these anomalies, which raises that question. How do we interpret these subtle cues when direct communication isn't giving us answers? For the narrator, these weren't just random incidents. They started forming a pattern, the disturbing pattern. It felt like Sarah was living a double life, one she didn't want me to see. And that perception, that feeling of being excluded from a hidden world by someone who promised total openness, that's incredibly potent, trust eroding. It's the start of feeling betrayed, even if nothing has actually happened yet.
Absolutely, that gut feeling. Her intuition was just screaming that something was seriously off. It wasn't only the weird messages or the vague excuses, it was the whole vibe. The physical distance, you could feel the emotional withdrawal, and those dismissive, almost secretive answers every time. When someone you know inside out, someone whose rhythm you totally understand, suddenly acts differently, your mind just automatically tries to figure it out. It's involuntary. And when the explanations you get are flimsy, unconvincing, and they come with those nervous laughs or darting eyes, it just fuels the suspicion, doesn't it? Creates this vacuum that your mind rushes to fill, usually with worst-case scenarios. You start playing detective, trying to piece together these weird new behaviors, desperate to understand what they mean. It's totally natural, almost primal. When the world of a relationship that felt so secure suddenly feels unpredictable, like the ground is shifting under your feet.
And this is precisely where the real erosion of trust begins. It moves past just feeling uneasy into active suspicion. The narrator's internal monologue at this point, it shows a huge psychological struggle. But I couldn't shake the feeling something was wrong. See, this isn't about facts yet, not concrete evidence, it's a feeling. A gut instinct that directly contradicts the story she thought she knew about their friendship. If we connect this to human psychology more broadly, it really shows how much our interpretation of things is colored by the emotional context and our existing beliefs. When trust is high, right, we might easily overlook a vague explanation, oh, she's just busy. We give the benefit of the doubt. But once that seed of doubt takes root, once that negativity bias kicks in, every little detail, every canceled plan, every nervous laugh, every averted glance becomes more proof that something's wrong. It fuels this self-reinforcing cycle of suspicion that's incredibly hard to break out of. It's a classic example of confirmation bias. The narrator, probably without